Hi, I'm Darren Long from Delta Harbor Assets, and this is Long on Gold. I just want to take a couple of minutes to bring you up to speed on 3 points that have been occurring over the last week and a half or so. One is the Wall Street Bets Reddit situation and the subsequent shorting of the big stock GameStop and its impact now and its relationship to silver and gold. Two is the underlying building blocks of our current bull market in silver and gold and how they all tie into this and why I expect the price to go higher. And three, supply. Where are we with silver supply right now, as everybody wants to know, and to a certain extent gold also, what's happening there. So number one, a bunch of who knows what age group, younger, let's say, traders banded together and arguably put a huge amount of pressure on a couple of hedge funds. This is not a lot of money for those hedge funds to lose, so don't get all carried away thinking it was a huge win for the little guy. It wasn't. What's more important to observe during this whole Reddit, Wall Street Bets, shorting situation with GameStop, all that stuff that was happening, is that this could be impactful in the long term in the sense that you could get more people banding together to make day trading decisions about their wealth, which is a big switch from mentality in the way that people currently handle the balance of their portfolio. Day trading is often seen and has been viewed as a very dangerous game, one for people who can afford to waste a lot of money, and very few are successful at it. So again, from that perspective, I certainly don't view GameStop as a success because I know a lot of people who lost a ton of money on the way down that stock and continue to bet that the stock's going to go higher, but it's not. It's certainly pulling back dramatically. So in looking at that and translating that over the silver market, why do we bring this up? Well, if you don't already know, the same mentality, the same amount of traders, the same Wall Street Bets crowd is now talking about the possibility of a silver squeeze because there is a very concentrated amount of short positions, and those are people who expect the price of an underlying asset or vehicle to go lower. There is a very concentrated amount of shorts in the silver market, and that expectation that the price will go lower has been something that in part has arguably kept the silver price in check for many decades now. In fact, I started in this business back in 2004, and that argument for this concentrated short position in silver has been there for a very long time. The one individual who has discussed it better than anyone is Ted Butler. For those looking for reference, look him up, read anything he's written. He's been a tremendous force in educating people about what has happened in the silver market, and you can find out more there with him. Now, that being said, there is certainly a tremendous amount of respect that I have for the marketplace because it's the one that I deal with the most in silver, and I love it very much. But there is a changing tide, so to speak, as we are sitting here today observing the markets. We are price-wise in silver at around 27.30 and in gold around 18.43. Those are paper prices, of course, not actual physical prices. And when we switch gears here to talk a little more about supply and demand, this is a moment in time that we won't soon forget. Although we've had tightness in supply before, and I've seen it over my years of dealing with Royal Canadian Mint and other suppliers around the world, there has been plenty of tightness. Last spring being another great example. The onset of COVID, tightness was certainly the soup du jour in terms of supply for silver and gold. It was non-existent. Well, right now, most fabricators, including mints around the world, are at their maximum capacities. I speak with representatives from the mint on a fairly regular basis, a few times a week, as well as most of the wholesale dealers around the world, the large ones that can supply us with enough product to fill what the demand is for our business here at Delta. And ultimately, this is a moment in time we won't soon forget because the mentality, in my opinion, is changing. That Wall Street Bets mentality is going to slowly make its way over to silver. And more than anything, it just is shedding light on a situation that has not been mainstream for some time. In fact, in the silver and gold market, many of my colleagues from David Morgan to Ted Butler, Peter Schiff, many others have argued that there is a very, very, very small amount of actual exposure in gold and silver, comparatively speaking, to the globally managed asset base. In fact, most analysts agree that it's less than 2% right now. So of all the globally managed assets in the world, only about 2% are exposed to gold and silver, either paper or physical. So when we see events like this Wall Street bets and GameStop and things like that, it's an exciting moment for me because it just means that more of the story is getting exposed to the mainstream. And the more it gets exposed to the mainstream, the more you share this with your friends and family and the people you know, the more likely it is they start reading about this situation in silver and understanding that there are some very significant building blocks, fundamentals that are at work here that are going to push the price much higher as we speak. So even despite the fact that we have Wall Street bets and short squeeze and this whole discussion about bullion banks that have kept their finger on the market and not allowed it to go higher in price, and even the fact that we've seen many banks, JP Morgan included, and others get slapped on the wrist with many fines in the tens of millions of dollars. This is still a market which arguably, at least on paper, is controlled by very, very few or small number of people. Now that's changing. The demand more recently is significant. It has been a time unlike any other, although similar to a couple of other situations, as I said before, but we are witnessing unprecedented demand and it is growing. What happens when a mere 4% of the investing public get the idea that they'd like to own some silver or gold, or maybe even 5 or 10%? In the last 100 years, there have been 4 major bull markets, and in all of them, the participation rate, meaning the amount of people, percentage of people in the investable markets that participated in gold and silver was around 20%. We could not handle that right now at this point in time. And that's what, in part, for people like Nick Bereshev or David Morgan or others that have talked about the price of gold maybe going much, much higher. Nick Bereshev wrote a book about it, $10,000 gold. There is a significant amount of warning signs on the wall right now that get people like us excited and our investors excited, because this is the moment in time where something like silver could break out of its shackles and reach prices in the triple digits as a starting point. We've already been to $50 an ounce, about $49 and change, in fact, around 2011, and silver has yet to reach its all-time high of January of 1980 at $52 and change, but it's getting close, and I suspect that because of these building blocks, which are currency depreciation around the world and printing, which leads to the number 2 building block, which is the threat of inflation. The third building block, geopolitical unrest or uncertainty, which drives central banks around the world to acquire gold, assets like gold and silver. And fourth, supply and demand, which is arguably the most important. There is no product. They cannot increase capacity right now unless they're willing to make substantial infrastructure upgrades, and that costs money. And right now, with COVID the way it is, governments around the world, fabricators, they don't have the extra money to increase the capacity to bring more product out of the mines, which have been just devastated by COVID around the world, and to get that product to the public. So it is a time of reckoning in which I believe wholeheartedly we are about to see and witness a fundamental change in the marketplace. No longer will we see control in the hands of a very small number of people. We will start to see the prices of gold and silver reach astronomical highs. And this all starts with understanding that right now, silver in particular is almost free at $27 in change on paper. You pay somewhere around, let's say, $32, $31, $30 an ounce, depending where you go right now. And that is almost like getting it for nothing, next to nothing, in comparison to what the next 36, 48, 60, 72 months is going to bring. This is a tremendous time and a moment, and in which I believe wholeheartedly, having been in this business for 17 years, we are witnessing the change in mentality as we speak. This is becoming more mainstream. People are realizing silver and gold are liquid vehicles. Physical silver and gold are liquid vehicles. They can be held in registered accounts, which make them more mainstream than ever. The amount of transportation that's required to move product is much more plentiful. Big, huge companies and tons of storage facilities now around North America in particular, but Europe also. And it makes it easy for people to move bullion in and out of the country into other safe storage places around the world. So we are witnessing those changes happening slowly, and things like this Wall Street bets and Reddit and all of these GameStop situations, and now taking your focus on silver means we are getting more mainstream coverage than we've ever had before. And it's no wonder that our phones ring off the hook constantly because of it. So I'm expecting that there's going to be a big jump in price and a catch-up point, because the paper market is now down to their last, let's say, few bullets, so to speak, and they are going to realize that the rest of the world is watching, and that the product they claim to have in their vaults, that they claim backs their paper investments, is not there. You can't move millions and millions of ounces on a day-to-day basis and expect people to believe that that product's actually in existence. It's not. This is them getting away with it. This is policing in-house, and arguably, although this is an alleged opinion, this is only an alleged thing, we are seeing now the changing times, and they are coming to the forefront. The mainstream investors realizing the importance of having assets like gold and silver, especially when they're liquid and can be bought and sold, like their stocks, like their bonds, like their cash positions. And we can do it in currencies that are applicable to the markets we're dealing with. We can have Canadian, US, Euro, Yen, all the various currencies of the world. And when you look at gold and silver, you realize in all those currencies, in the last 15, 16, 17 years, gold and silver have done extremely well. And nobody knows about it. It's a hidden market almost. This is something that the mainstream needs to know more about. So I want to make sure to encourage everybody to listen and tune into our YouTube channel. Give us a like, hit subscribe if you get this, and it's something that you want to see more of. I will make sure that I'm here all the time, and I will be watching the markets. I will be offering my opinion, and you can come to us, Delta Harbor. That's Delta Harbor Assets, and the website, deltaharbor.com. Once again, right there on your screen, you can go and you can find out more about our solutions, and we'd be happy to help you out anytime. So please give us a call. And once again, I thank you for listening, tuning in. It's been a pleasure. I'm Darren Long, and this is Long on Gold.